presenting to the students. And you think that boy was a genius, when we look at academics now. And I tell you that this time, we also had a program in Julia where we had a teen marketplace. And these students designed actual websites. And what am I trying to say? We designed actual websites in marketing. Do you know if we are going to look at their academic performance, we probably will not have been considered with children at all.
Please share the link and the children live. Thank you.
First of all, concentrate on the high flyers, See, as an educator, you have to be able to design a program, design an instruction to cater to the needs of every student in your class, that will bring out the best in every child in your class. Let me go to my slide. I'm talking about the qualities of the. We have to reimagine teaching as a craft that is crafted, that is sharpened by the knowledge we have, and that knowledge that you have is the content that you carry as a teacher. Your pedagogy, because as a teacher, that is how do you transfer the content that you have. Technology, character, and creativity. So, as a master teacher, as a master educator, you have to see that what you do is actually a craft. Every time I talk, I always like to liken, the teacher of 20 years ago, to the, I'm talking about the 21st century teacher. So I'm going to compare the traditional teacher, that's like you, the traditional teacher, and the 21st century teacher. Now look at the traditional teacher. I'm sure we all went through the traditional teacher because I was taught by a traditional teacher. Most times, in fact, they feel that it's only what they share with you that you should know. They start as a lecturer at the front, and their instruction is designed as a one-size-fits-all. They come to the class. I can recall my government at that time. The woman would have given us, in fact, the notes we write here. Write notes and write notes, written like 50 pages of notes. And then the woman will come to class, she'll sit and all, she'll just explain and explain. And then I'm mixing up Clifford Constitution with Macpherson Constitution, and I'm unable to make, in fact, I didn't make difference between the Constitution and what I was in the university. And I sat down to read it by myself. And the instruction of the traditional teacher is textbook bound. At the beginning of your term, you just go through your skill. What am I supposed to teach this term? You go through the skill, you go to the textbook, and then you practice the traditional teacher. But I'm not talking about that kind of teacher this morning. I'm talking about the 21st century teacher. The 21st century teacher, of course, first of all, must be a learning designer. Can we repeat that? Learning designer. Must be a learning designer. A learning designer. Don't forget I talked about a teacher being a craftsman. I talked about someone, an aluminum fabricator, who will come and look at your building and something for this design. Oh, this is going to be the appropriate kind of doors that this building should have. It should be the appropriate kind of windows. I would suggest based on professionalism. So as a 21st century teacher, you must be a learning designer. When you are looking, at the beginning of every session, we do what we call class posting, right? Yes. Then you're posted to teach a certain grade level. In fact, for some schools like Institution of Learning, we do it during this long holiday. And do you know why we do that? So that the teachers can start planning. As an educator, you can't just go to you have to plan for the students you're going to teach. It is that period you design your learning. So, the 21st century, I was just saying all of this, I'll just walk through. You have to be a learning designer, then you have to be a facilitator and a coach.